Hey everybody, welcome back to Live. I'm your host, Nick Taylor, and today I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name, Ryan, but I'm assuming it's Ryan Furrer?
You got it spot on.
Okay. I've been badly I always ask people before I go live, and the last two streams I have forgotten to do it. And anyways, I'm only bringing that up. We'll get into what we're talking about, but I just think it's always important to get people's names correctly, like the enunciation, because I don't know. Sometimes people say like, "Oh, it's okay, that's good enough," or whatever. But I'm like, just let me know how it really is pronounced, because I know they're being accommodating, but I think it's a bit disrespectful when you can't pronounce somebody's name properly.
I'm
So
very much the same way, and I've done it on live stream before where I've ruined someone's name. I'm like, it's not great.
yeah. Anyways, we could talk more about that if you want. But before we get into all the stuff we're gonna talk about, for folks who might not know you, Ryan, do you mind just kind of giving the lowdown, the showdown of who? I don't know. I'm just trying to rhyme now. Um, who's Ryan is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm a junior front end web developer, as the title says, from musician to software developer. And yeah, looking for my first job in the field and just enjoying the community that I've found in the development world. It's pretty great out there if you surround yourself with the right people.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, we're gonna dig into to all that. It's I'm just laughing in the Twitch chat because I installed a bot a couple weeks ago, a night
Hmm.
bot, and it's even deleting my own messages that I have automated. So I think I still need to tweak it a little bit. But anyways, if you do post a link in the chat there and it gets vaporized, it's me not having completely configured Nightbot yet, I guess. Um, anyways,
Been there.
yeah, I guess let's kind of dig into all kinds of things here. So like, I mean, the title is musician and developer. So like, why don't we start there, or like, when did you, or even before that, like, were you interested in computers even before you were a musician, or is this something that came after? Or just kind of curious of the flow of how things kind of panned out for you to bring you to where you are today.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I've always done, but definitely been a techie since I was a kid.
Okay.
I mean, video games was definitely where I started. I think just growing up playing Nintendo and everything. Like started from there, and I think I had every Nintendo console until the Wii too. Um,
Okay.
so avid there, and the first thing that really got me interested in it was putting together my first computer. Now I didn't build it. It's not like
Okay.
I sourced all the components. I think I was like 7 or 8, and it was
Okay.
merely just plugging in the peripherals, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I, like, waited for my dad to do it for a couple weeks, and he just wouldn't do it, so then I did it, and I'm like, "Oh, that was
Okay.
easy and fun." Yeah, so I
Yeah.
started there, and I kinda just, something took off in my head.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it's I My fir I bought my first computer, like, we had a family computer at one, you know, we had this is, like, I'm a lot older, but, like, basically, I'm, like, anyways, I'm just old. But basically, like, the first computer was, like, it was a clone of a PC, like, a desktop PC at the time, and, it was kind of funny because there was no games or anything, but my dad's an accountant, and he used this program called Lotus 123. Think of it, it's like Excel these days, but it's
Okay.
kind of like one of the OGs of like spreadsheets. And there was no games, but I was just basically on this monochrome screen, this like yellow and blacks, and just the only thing I could think of doing was I was just making pie charts all the time and stuff because it looked cool, but I had no idea what I was doing. But
Of course. Isn't that what we all do when we're, like, messing around on computers as a young
yeah,
child?
yeah. Yeah, but it is, I don't know, I find it wild how much computers have changed because like I bought my first computer in like I was working at a restaurant and I saved up the money to buy a computer, and it
Yes.
cost me, I'm in Canada, but it was like 3,600 Canadian. So let's figure like, I don't know, maybe say like 3,000 US. And this was not back in the day it was a good machine, but it was like a 486, which you couldn't even play like a CD-ROM on it, basically. Like I had it, and then MP3s came out, and like Napster and all that stuff, and I burnt some music onto a CD, and I tried playing it in my computer, and the CPU was so not fast enough that it would just skip. Like it would play a bit of the song and then
Y
skip, and then
that
anyways,
checks out.
yeah,
No,
but
no, that's funny. I remember hearing about that from others as well, and it's just so odd thinking that that was a limitation of the time, right?
yeah, yeah. But the only reason why I was bringing it all up is because you were talking about building your computer, and it's like I used to always like fix my computer or change like the car because like back in the day, like if you're in like a Mac laptop these days, like the warranty's voided immediately as soon as you open it. But
Yep.
it's like a lot of the things you can't even change now, like the M series Macs, the memory's like soldered in
You
now.
can't do
Where
anything.
yeah, and then like older Macs, uh like I had a 2010, I still have it, but up until I think like 2017, you could literally replace the memory, and I used to do that all the time. But like with the older machines, there was so much. Well, I guess I haven't had a desktop machine in a while, like a tower, but like there's still a lot of space in there, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, hey, how's it going, Alex
What's that,
Lextoten?
Alex?
Thanks for
What's going
joining us.
on?
Um, but it was just easy to maneuver in the machine, right? Like, so like you could like literally pull out the card, push it in, and then you just screw it in, and there's just like
Yep.
you could like literally stick like I could stick my forearm in my computer and still have a bit of room, you know. So,
It's like working on old cars too. I mean, like, so my first car, was older than me. I was a 1972 Plymouth Valiant, but the engine bay was massive, so you could actually work
okay,
in there. Meanwhile, if I have to change a headlight on a modern car, it's a nightmare or do anything because I just can't fit in there. We changed the timing belt, I think, on
okay,
my brother's old Accord, and I just couldn't do it. So it's the same thing. Like, I have a PC tower over here, and it's mid-size.
yeah,
It's still too tight for me.
yeah, yeah. I'll be honest, I don't know that much about cars. I can top up my oil, not change it, and I can change tires if I need to, or like a flat and stuff. But aside from that, it's just this is unrelated to anything we're talking about. But it's just funny how like I always get pegged like, oh, this guy knows everything about sports or he knows everything about car. Like I show up to the mechanic and he's like, yeah, so we're gonna do this, this, this. I'm like, sounds good, sure, just do it, I guess.
Yep. I'm pretty much the same way. I'm very surface level of what I can do and what I know about mechanically, and then it goes down.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I understand a bit, but it's just like I don't know, some things it's I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It has nothing to do with cars, but just like people say they don't like things typically when they don't understand them. Like they might genuinely not like something too, eventually, but like people are like we were talking about like somebody's like CSS sucks or whatever, and it's like, well, why does this suck? And then like I was like asking a couple probing questions, then they're just like, because I don't understand it really. It was like so
That's
like
so funny you say that.
yeah, no, and it's I don't know. I guess that kind of brings it back to kind of we can talk a bit about well, we can talk as much you want to, but like you've been part of this. I think it's a pretty cool program. It's the Gridiron. Is it called Gridiron or Gridiron Survivor? I can't remember if it
Yeah, Gridiron
which.
Survivor is the full name.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah. So I guess like for folks who might not, I like this program for a lot of reasons, but like before I kind of give my commentary, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about the program, like how it got started, because I think it's a really great thing that everybody that's part of that is doing. So
Thanks. Yeah, honestly, I when I was approached about it, I was thrilled because it just was seemed like such a good opportunity. So, um, I was approached by Shashi Low, who was the guy behind it, and I only was approached by Shashi because I met him at that conference in Texas in
okay,
January. And so he said, "Hey, we're doing this thing. It's for a real client. Basically like you'll make money if we make money with the app eventually, but the idea is for this to bridge the gap between your self-taught skills and what will make you stand out in an interview. It'll give you that that work experience, some of those skills that you won't earn or learn
Yeah.
self-taught by yourself. So I said absolutely. Especially after that conference, I
Yeah.
was so fired up. And so when Shashi approached me, I said, yes, please. And so his first question was, how would you identify yourself? A UX engineer, a functional engineer, or a backend engineer? And I was like, well, I know what
Okay.
backend is, but specify the difference for me. And long story short, I was like straight up a UX engineer.
Okay.
I love CSS and just taking design to code, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're having a slew of people come in. My stream wasn't the audio wasn't coming
Oh,
over,
okay.
so
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no,
hello,
yeah, I just wanted
hello.
to say, yeah, thanks everybody. Hey, I see Mike Cavalera's there. We got Mr. Torres, and also nice to see Mika who's over at Scrimba in Virtual
Hmm.
Coffee. And I'm not sure who Daywalker is, but hello,
Daywalker
Daywalker
is
as well.
on Tech Twitter as well,
Okay.
and they've been a very good supporter of mine actually since I started streaming. So shout out to Daywalker.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, so you were saying, yeah, so like you like, yeah, you said you wanted to be UX engineer, is that what you said? Or yeah.
Yeah, that's what I definitely elected. That's how I identify myself at least. Um, And it's funny because that's how what Shashi's title is also at Microsoft, and he talks about this a lot where he's like, "I'm a
Okay.
UX engineer. I can do this really well. I can do other things, but this is my forte." And that's sort of as much as I really want to continue expanding my skills and knowledge and be able to do all the things, it it also sort of solidified this idea in my head of like, "Hey, there's a job for you that you're just really good at this, right?" And that was kind of, almost like redeeming or it just resonated with me.
Yeah. Hey Dominic, thanks for joining us. Um yeah, I think it's, you know, I think when you're starting off, I think it's important to get good at a couple things. And like I'm saying this in hindsight because that's not what I did, but
Yep.
yeah, like I was like, I don't know if anybody else when they started off can relate to this, but like when I was looking for my first job, which took a long time, a long time ago too, but basically I was like, I did go to university, but like I honestly still didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to university. I just took computer science because my cousin had suggested it, and I did well at math and stuff, and so I was just like, "Yeah, give it a go." The reality is I graduated, but I focused more on rugby while I was there. So, rugby with a minor in school. Uh, but basically when I was looking for my first job, I was like, I the program I was in, there was a couple I did like 3 internships, but
Hmm.
they were varied. So like one was like I was just like this was during Y2K, so like I was uh uh basically flashing the BIOS of all these machines to make sure that they got the Y2K update. That was kind of like
Yes, I
one
remember.
internship.
Yeah.
And then like the other ones was like I really didn't do much. I did a bit of documentation, but it was Canadian government, and honestly, it's I don't want to generalize, but like I've always heard a lot of people that the government's slow, and the department I was in, at least, it was like super slow. They gave me work, and then I was like, keen student, finished it the day next day, and they're like, that was for the week, and I was like, oh.
Oh, dude, that's wild. I I can't
Okay.
imagine.
Sorry. Mika's asking, can I be really intrusive and ask how old both of you are? I'm 44 to be fair. I don't mind saying,
Me neither.
I'm gonna be 49 in October,
I'll
and
be 33 in November.
yeah, so
Mika, I
that's
did not think you were 44. That's ridiculous. You
yeah.
too, Nick, to be 49. I don't get it.
I, I, I I'm not stressed out about it or anything. It's kind of cool, but I find it kind of wild. I'm gonna be like half a century next year. That's like friggin',
Oh my
I don't
god.
know.
That's a
It
weird
just
thing,
sounds
like
weird.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Totally.
So, but I mean, I definitely don't feel that age. Like, but I don't know. I need y'all's skin routine. I can give you my skin. I can give you my skin routine, Dominic. I've had oily skin since I was younger, and
Yep.
that did not fare well when I was younger. A bit of didn't have brutal acne, but like basically having the oily skin, I think, has helped me out later on in life. And yes, definitely drinking water, Michaela. Speaking of water, I got right here. I'm
There you
drinking
go.
water all the time, and aside from that, not that I'm a health professional, but I've been basically lifting weights since I was about 16, and sports that definitely helped too. I think. Uh,
Most likely. I mean, they say that I think especially for, older people 70 and up that the lack of muscle loss or the loss of muscle is one of the biggest detriments to their overall health. And I'm certainly
yeah,
not a health professional, but uh, I've read and watched and listened and so much. So it's funny that you say that. Am begging to get back into weightlifting because it's been way too long, and it's something that I fell in love with a few years ago.
yeah, no, it's pretty well. I mean, like, oh, thanks for the follow, Roxy. Good to see you.
Hey,
Yeah, no,
Roxy.
it's. I mean, like, some people don't like working out. I actually enjoy working out, like lifting weights and moving
Hmm.
heavy things. It's also just good, like, I just in terms of like stress levels. Not that I'm a super stressed out person, but like, you know, long day, whether normal stresses of life or whatever, just hitting the gym just releases all that for me, and it's yeah, getting back to what you're saying. Oh, I see. I just it just popped up on Twitter, but Jason's on his plane, so have fun, my man.
Excellent. Have fun. Safe trip, dude.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, there's like all kinds of things, like because I did these programs at the university down the street from me. Just they're like just research programs, so I just volunteered, and like they take
Hmm.
your like they basically took a almost like a fax of my body, like a whole X-ray of not. It's like they literally scan your whole body and they tell you everything. And like bone density is like super important because like as you get older, like there's a reason why like really old people break their bones. It's you
Right.
literally
On
don't
top of
have as much.
osteoporosis, right?
Yeah, that too. But there's just like other things like I don't know. Like I said, I do like lifting heavy things, but when I was playing rugby, like I was always trying to be as strong as possible because it was beneficial to me, whether it was like running into somebody or I don't know if you've ever been tackled, but when you get speared in the midsection, and you get up a
Oh
lot
God, yeah.
quicker if you've been if you've been training. But yeah, it's I don't know. But the main nowadays it's like I don't I mean, I can still lift heavy stuff, but it's not I don't care really. It's really all I care about nowadays is like I don't want to be injured and I just want to be healthy basically. And
Yeah, I so when you're young, it's like, oh, an ego lifting, right? But as you age, even where I'm at, like I want to, when I was younger, I was like, oh, I want to lose weight and lift weight and stuff like that to look better. And now it's
yeah,
more of
yeah.
an overall health wellness thing. Like I certainly
Yeah.
want to chase PRs again. Like when I about 8 years ago was when I was really into it. Uh
Okay.
yeah, PRs having a different meaning. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, dude, I
Yeah.
I I feel you. I think I mean, I'm saying this as someone that keeps telling myself to make the time for it, but it's so important. And hell, Clark at that has reamed me for not doing. So here's another
Okay.
reason
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And again, I'm just gonna stress because this is recorded. We are not health professionals, so like
Mm-mm.
this is just like health banter, I guess. But yeah, the other thing that's super important, because like I was doing, I have a gym in my garage now because like when pandemic hit, like lockdown, so I just slowly accumulated things and like some dumbbells because like the prices went up really high. Like I bought a pair of like 40-pound dumbbells, like with a few plates on them.
Yep.
I got it like just it was already locked down, but I at the time I paid like $50 for them. It was like a set, and
Okay.
then same set on Amazon like a few weeks later was like $300, and it's people just
Come
abusing
on.
the fact that it's like bad times,
That's
but
wild.
yeah, but ended up doing these Zoom classes. I was never really into group training really. I mean, rugby practice is something else, but like actually like I was usually university I had like a training partner, but once I left university I was always kind of doing my own stuff. but
Mm.
uh uh sorry, I'm just trying to follow the chat. There's some
Oh, they're going
uh
off. I love it.
oh roller derby, that's awesome, Roxy. my old coworker Suzanne from Dev 2 and Netlify, she did roller derby too.
Oh my
So
god, I've never even heard of that.
it's there's a movie what's the movie called again, Roxy? I think it's called Whip It. It's anyways, basically think of like rollerblading mixed with hockey, kind of like so you can like check people and like uh
Okay, shoot.
I'm sure Roxy, yeah, Whip It, it is okay, yeah. I'm sure
Whip it,
Roxy
yeah.
could probably explain it better, but it seems like full contact rollerblading is what it seems to me basically.
I mean, that seems kind
Uh,
of fun.
yeah. So but yeah. But yeah, no, the thing I was gonna say was like aside from wanting to be healthy and not be injured, like I started doing these Zoom classes with like this guy I know from my kids' daycare. Our kids were friends, but he's a
Hmm.
personal trainer, and he was focusing a lot more on proprioception, which is like your balance, being aware of your space and stuff. Because like all the guys I was working out with were like in their like late 50s and 60s, so um basically, like a lot of single limb stuff because for balance and like,
Mhm.
just the little muscles. Cause like, I don't know, I'd be curious if don't do it while you're watching the stream people, but after the stream, just try and balance on like one leg and see how long you can hold it. Or like, there's all
It's
kinds of things.
so bad.
Yeah. Like there's stuff we were doing like you do like deadlifts, but you do one legged or like one
Mhm.
legged squats, which like if you hear that you'd be like, oh yeah, no problem. And like I still struggle doing a
Pistol
single leg
squats are
squat.
something else, man.
I can't even do pistols.
Oh my god, absolutely not.
Yeah, that is a goal though. One day I think like it's yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I can't keep track of the chat anymore. But basically, we got roller derby and all kinds of stuff going on.
Yep,
Um,
Domina's receding hairline. Sorry to point it out, bro. You
yeah,
said it,
yeah.
not me.
Uh, I have no segue to bring us back, but but yeah, like getting back to the Gridiron Survivor, I think it's Sashi who decided to do this program, or like how did it come about exactly? Like I know he
Yeah.
runs it, but
No, that's a really good question. Shashi has a friend Rudy who runs this Survivor Football League, and
okay,
if you don't know what Survivor Football League is, it's American football. Just to get that straight, but
okay,
it's similar to fantasy football, but instead of choosing the specific players, you're choosing
okay.
one team you think will move on to the next week, and
Oh, okay, okay,
yeah, it's overall simple, but explaining it in words is a little complex. Actually, that's why it's one of my questions that I'm asking the team in my Meet the Team
okay,
series. But so anyway, Shashi said to his friend Rudy, "Hey, I have this group of junior developers that are looking to break into the industry, but they, whatever the case, they're not getting interviews, whatever. Would it be cool
okay,
with you if I worked with them and developed an app for you to do this?" And his
okay,
friend was like, "Yeah, of course. I don't think it's costing him a thing. It's coming out of Shashi's pocket, any of the costs. And his time is coming straight from him. And so I think it started last November in 2023 or so. They got
okay.
the original group of people, and I think between the holidays, it just kind of like tapered off quickly, which is expected, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then after that conference is when it really picked up again. So in February of 2024, he scooped a few new people, including myself and Chris Nowicki, and
Okay.
yeah, and we just kind of went off from there. So it's all for his friend. I mean, Shashi partakes in the league as well, so it's for
Oh,
him
okay, okay.
to enjoy too. But his friend is managing this group of people doing this Survivor League with
Yeah.
spreadsheets and emails, and it's just like there's a better way, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's cool. Okay, so like, yeah, I knew Gridiron was football, but I thought that was just a nickname for the group. But you're literally building uh
The
an
Gridiron
actual app.
Survivor.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, 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 okay.
It's funny you
Gotcha,
mentioned
gotcha.
that because, that also came up on last week's interview with Chris, and I think we need to come up with a name for the group of people, and because the app is one thing, but if this is done and Shashi keeps going, we need another
Yeah,
name for the group of developers doing it. I just call it
yeah,
like a long-term cohort, that's how I'm thinking of
yeah,
it, and I explain it to people. It's been a great opportunity, though.
yeah. No, I think it's great for a lot of reasons. Well, one, you're helping out some people, which is good for anybody who likes football. this is this is a perfect example of what whether you're trying to land your first job, break into tech, or even if you're already in tech, it's building in public. Like this is like I don't know. I think I've said this many times before to other people, but like the bar for getting a job in tech right now has been raised so high. Like and I don't just mean for like somebody just getting their first job, like anybody, I think.
Mhm.
And you know, not 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 to bring it back to sports, but like anytime I've gone for a job, like like think about when you're younger and like you're I don't know if if they do soccer in the states when you're younger or not, or if it's all football right away. Uh, but basically, it's like you play some games, everybody gets like orange slices at halftime. If it's a tournament, everybody gets a medal, and that's
Mhm.
fun and it's inclusive, and I think that's a good thing. But there's a tipping point in sports where it's like, hey Nick, you didn't make the team, or Nick, you're not starting, and then it's like we're not putting you in just to put you in. It's like we want our best people now, and you got to put the time in to do that and stuff. And it's a bit of a reality check, and I kind of relate it to the job market a bit like that. Like if I'm going for a job, like I want to be number one. Like I want to be the one that gets the job, and there's only I mean, unless it's a role where they're like hiring a few of them, it's like it's typically one, right? And there's like
Mhm.
a huge sea of people nowadays. Like I don't even know how many people apply to certain things, but like when I worked at Dev 2, because I was leading front end over there, we got we put a rollout for front end and we got almost 700 applications, and we literally went through all of them, and it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of bringing this up because like people talk about like I've heard Angie Jones talk about this before and some other people, but it's like I think Kelly Vaughn was talking about this recently too. But it's like if there's spelling mistakes in your resume, it gets thrown out, and it's not doesn't mean that you actually aren't good. It's just like they need some kind of criteria, and if the criteria could be like, okay, this person just didn't put in the time. Like spell checkers exist, like
Mhm.
and so like I think you have to be. I also have opinions about resumes. I don't think they're that important, but that's
I'm
just
with you.
me.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. I think
But
it's
that's a whole other thing.
And I think you raise a few important points. Number one, I've sort of been floating around tech, like this web developer industry, since I think early 2019, and so I've noticed that the bar has just been continue. It's continued to go up, like you said.
Yeah,
Um, I'm also competitive in the sense that I want to be that number one person, and it does kind of relate it to music in a sense, and even the same way with sports. Like at one point, you just won't make it. You won't be put on the team. You won't make the
yeah,
ensemble that you're auditioning for, whatever. And so you have to put in the time. And if you can't put in the time, or there's
yeah,
also just the natural talent, right? Like some people are just more they have it, and
yeah,
some people don't. The difference with tech, though, like, yes, while maybe your brain works better in that direction than mine, it's still something you can learn just like anything else.
yeah.
And you could say the same thing for music. You could say the same, but especially sports, there's like genetics involved where that can definitely make a difference, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, like some building blocks, like some sports. And oh, hey Bjorn, thanks for joining. And also shout out. I think I'm assuming it's your brother Walter Fur.
Oh,
Is
is
that
he
your
in
brother?
here? I didn't. Yes, it
He
is.
he. I just noticed his message on YouTube. It's
Oh,
from a
sweet.
conversation we had at the beginning about talk about your old gateway
Oh, our
personal
old
home
gateway
computer.
PC. Yeah,
Yeah,
whopping
yeah,
4 gigs of hard drive space. It was great.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. Getting back to like the sports, it's a little different. Like there are similar parallels, but it's like for example, like I just relate it to rugby because like I played rugby for a long time. But like a lot of times now, it's like they'll be like, okay, you're like 6'6" and 240, like okay, you played some other sports, but we're gonna train you to, play. Like there's definitely certain things like that will help for sure,
Hmm.
but doesn't mean they're gonna make it. But like sports, yeah, sports is very different. They'll look at like physical attributes to see can we like mold this person in somebody. It's like for example, I'm only 5'7", like I was definitely strong and like muscular when I was playing, but like I can't will myself to grow another foot, you know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
just not gonna happen, like, you know.
Well,
So
growing up,
anyways.
my brother and I were always I mean, beyond being like obese, but like we were just big, big framed. We're 6 feet tall. Like we're not giants, but we're just big human beings. And so it was always like, oh, you two got to play football. We never played football. We played soccer. And then when we could join marching band, we jumped on a marching band. We dropped soccer like it was a bad habit. And like we just never did that. And so part of it also is what you're interested in, obviously. But I'll tell you,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
at college, the rugby team tried poaching me just because of my size. And I'm like, bro, I don't play sports. Like, I don't know. I don't know what you want from me?
Yeah, yeah, no, no, totally, yeah. No, exactly. But but yeah, so like yeah, like getting back to tech, it's just like I don't know. It's I'm always conflicted giving this advice because I understand everybody's situation is different. Like I'll be honest, I'm privileged in the sense that I can just hack away on something on the weekend, and
Mm,
I can do that. I know not everybody can, uh, but and I definitely don't mean this in a incompassionate or non-empathetic way, but like life isn't fair, and like and I don't know. I got to frame this correctly. Like I know I'm a white guy in tech. There's like a million things I don't have to worry about. So like I'll put that
hmm
on the table
I'm with
already.
you there.
But that said, like if you want to get good at anything, like you have to put in the time. And like I always find it funny how people get critical of people putting in time like outside of work, like I'm definitely pro work life balance for sure, but I'd be hypocritical if I said I had work life balance my entire life. I was that young dev who was up super late telling people I could do all these five tasks and not end up not delivering all of them and stuff, and like so like it's easy to say this in hindsight, but like and I still struggle with work life balance sometimes,
Oh yeah.
but the crutch of it is like you have to put in the time, and it's like as soon as it gets framed in the context of it's related to work, it's like all of a sudden it's like I'm not saying everybody would think this, but like a lot of people are like, oh man, like no man, like that's do your 9 to 5 and whatever. And I understand that sentiment, but at the same time, like people will go play video games for 20 hours on the weekend to like I don't know beat Elden Ring, or they'll spend hours and hours learning how to play guitar. It's literally the same thing. You're getting good at something, uh, and I just don't know how to frame it in the sense aside from like it gets back to like you want that job, you got to put in the time, and like yes, you could be lucky sometimes and opportunities. We can talk about opportunities too. That's a whole other thing, but
Hmm.
I just don't always know how to frame it to say like, yeah, life sucks, but you got to put in the time, and it's
Yeah.
it's really hard to say that because like I'd like to think I'm an empathetic person, and like and I don't mean it in a mean way. I just mean the reality is there's I don't know. I just don't see another alternative, to be honest.
No, I mean, I honestly, I'm kind of right there with you, coming as another white male, and I'm very fortunate the things that I don't have to worry about, and I don't want to say fortunate, but it sucks for the people that have to do so much more, right, for the same thing. But you have to
Yeah,
put in the reps no matter who you are, no matter
yeah,
what you're doing. Does that mean that things maybe haven't been easier for me sometimes because of it? No, but I'm not aware of that either, and that sucks. Like
yeah,
maybe when I was younger, I never had any idea. But no matter what, you still have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort. And it's funny you mentioned the video games. I was an avid World of Warcraft player. I've played World of Warcraft since 2005, on and off, but I played every year, I should say. It's not like I had more than a year off. And I was very serious into it in 2016 through 18. Very serious into it.
yeah,
But then it's like, then when I stopped and I started getting into coding, I was like, man, I can't move forward if I put in this much time in WoW. So like it started with,
yeah,
let's say, 90% of my time in WoW and 10% in coding and web development. And then over the years that has just reversed, where I'm spending 90% of my time coding and maybe 10% playing games. And
yeah,
you could be like, "Oh, Ryan, you should do what you want." I have friends that are like, "Ryan, why don't you take a day off? Like, why are you doing this every night, like on the weekends?" And
Yeah,
I do take 1 or 2 nights off a week, and do I sometimes get, I'm always fighting that or finding that line with burnout, of course. Like that's a whole
yeah,
other
yeah,
thing too. I've been there before, and I'm doing my best to balance my input and effort with that burnout because I definitely don't. I can't afford to be burnt out in development right
yeah,
now. But
yeah,
yeah, it's
totally.
it's putting in the reps, man. Like just
Yeah,
like anything else, man. The amount of hours of music that I put into things, to learn a piece, to get it down for whatever, the amount
yeah,
of hours I put into gaming, it's no different. And I think if you want it, you
yeah,
need it. And web development is a field that it's always changing. And if you can't keep up, you are either going to be stuck at the same job doing the same thing forever, I feel, or you're going to
yeah.
be glossed over when you're interviewing for the jobs. For example, someone at my brother works currently in IT,
Okay,
and someone at his job is stuck in the old ways. They're building a new app for their customer base, which is store owners of their
okay,
franchise, and they want to use like ASP.NET or something like an old version, whereas there's the new framework Maui like that would put set them up for success in the
yeah,
future and stuff. And just they're like, no, we're gonna do it this way. It's like you've been here for
yeah,
20 years, you're stuck in your ways. That hell, someone who was even trying to develop another tool that they hired on a software engineer. He's a web developer, and he wanted to use Next.js to build something, and everyone locally said cool. And this one developer who's like, works remotely and all this stuff, he's the same guy that's like, nah, we should use .NET. It's like that's fine if that's your thing,
yeah,
fine, but stick with the new trends, man. Like you have to move on from older technology at times. And
yeah,
teaching is the same way. Again, like you can just keep connecting it to different things. If you're a teacher that's not going to keep putting in the effort, get out of teaching because there's someone that cares more. There's someone that's going
yeah,
to keep up on the latest and greatest.
yeah. The No, that definitely there's a bit of old guard that like I I think you're only hampering your career if you're not open to new things. I I think one two of the best skills you can have are like because like the coding part that will just come from putting in the reps. The things that will help you stand out over time are getting comfortable being uncomfortable,
Mm,
and that means you get like literally getting out of your comfort zone. And I, I do this all the time, and it it hurts at first. You're like, oh, I don't get something or whatever, and then but then you grow like ever since I've done that, like my career has only just done better. And the what was the other point? Getting out of your comfort zone and just like yeah, I can't remember what my other point was at the moment, but getting back to the tech stacks and stuff, there are valid reasons sometimes to
hmm
not use something new. It could be like for example, like banks are still running on COBOL, for example, but
Yeah.
there's intermediary things you can do. Like you can do something to surface that COBOL code, but like maybe it ends up showing up in some kind of service that you can call in a more modern front end, which is probably how they're doing it. Like I haven't worked in the banking system ever, but like they've got apps and stuff that obviously are able to get your data about your
hmm
bank accounts from these old systems. So there's like some kind of bridge in between. Um, but yeah, but yeah, starting a new project, yeah, if you can look at something new for sure. But again, you have to. It's a little more nuanced. You have to see like what are the constraints of the project. Like you might have to stay on .NET, for example, or ASP.NET for some reason that, or you can't migrate yet. Like I'm just kind of spitballing here, but oh, thanks, Upa, appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words. Um,
I'm with you,
it
and I understand that too.
Yeah. But oh yeah, no. Yeah, yeah, if you're not able to grow like just learning new things, you're just doing a disservice to yourself, to be honest.
hmm
Like I mean, Mika was asking us about our ages. Like I'm gonna be 50 next year, and I'm like on top of my game. Like I don't feel like some ancient thing, and I do stay on top of things, but but also I've kind of toned it down a bit because there was a point where I was always trying to be on top of everything, and it's very draining. So like
Yeah.
typically nowadays, like I mean, I still have an ear to the ground and like I'm skimming stuff, but it's not. I don't always start deep diving into every new thing because it's just one, it's time consuming, and also it just can be super draining. But it is good to stay current. Like it's other professions do this. Like I mean, people like doctors, accountants, they have to get recertified. They have to do,
Mhm.
things change in these practices. It's the same kind of idea, except I don't know the whole. We don't have well, we do have certifications, I should say, but yeah, you just have to stay on top of things, and it's um, oh no, thanks for the kind words here. Thanks, Mike. People are
Appreciate
enjoying
that.
our chat, our conversation.
Always love to hear it.
But I can give you like a concrete example. I used to work at Autodesk. It's a big engineering company. They're like 60,000 people,
Wow.
and they have offices all over the place. But I was working on this one project called Shotgun. It was like project management software for. It's called ShotGrid now, but it's project management software for the gaming industry, movie industry. So like not
Hmm,
small peanut stuff. Like clients were like Epic Games, Netflix, Disney. But they had this. The app was this Rails app, and the front end. I mean, the app being Rails is fine, but they've been trying to move a lot of stuff to React, and
okay.
we ran into these problems all the time because there was other software that was using kind of like the back end of this, but it was like newer front ends. So like there was like they weren't Electron apps. It's in the in the like film and gaming industry. I can't remember the name of the browser and stuff, but basically it was like a WebKit variant, and
Interesting.
um, but they had started building this whole design system in React, and they were using it in this new software. And so we had all these components, and like people wanted to keep using it in the older application.
Yep.
And every time it came to feature development, it was like, do we still do it the old way or do we do React? And almost always it was always going back to just doing it the old way because it's faster, we can get it out. But nobody was benefiting from all these new components and stuff. And then
Interesting.
I don't know. I was just getting really frustrated because it was affecting like it would affect how long you would take to build something. But there hit a tipping point where like, yeah, it's easy to do it the old way, but then there's a tipping point where it's like we can't do this new feature development now because we need those other things.
That's a really
And
good point.
we just had this conversation, and then like I basically gave a demo. I was like, you can have the old things and you can still use React in there. Like you can have like this hybrid version. Like for like this is kind of abstracted away now if you're using like a meta framework like Next.js or Remix and
Mhm.
stuff. But like prior to all that stuff, like well, if you use V2, you'll see this. But like prior to the meta frameworks, there was like Webpack, and you typically had
Yep.
this index.html file, and then you'd have like you'd build your spa, and it would start off at like you typically had this div called root, and then you would build it. But you can literally put a React application anywhere. All you need to say is like the start of the application begins in this HTML element in the page.
Really?
So so I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could literally run like 5 React applications in a site as long as you have like think of them like slots where the whole app just kind of grows. And so
Yeah, yeah,
I kind
yeah.
of said like we can do this hybrid mode. I did a proof of concept on CodePen showing like doing some things the old way and then just mounting the whole React app in this like little
That's
slot,
cool, man.
and then you could progress. And this is like some of the last work I did before I went to Dev 2, but I was the whole point was like we can have like a migration path or like be hybrid for as long as we need to, and then you benefit from having all these things. And it wasn't perfect, but it was just like a way to show a migration path instead of like because going nuclear, the thing I'm talking a lot here, I know, but like
No,
uh
I'm
the,
interested.
the thing is whatever you do, you have to consider the considerations for the business. You know,
Mhm.
it's easy for a dev who comes in and says like, "Oh, this is all old tech. We got to refactor all of this." Okay, if you did all that, does it provide any business value, or does it just make the site this new tech now? Because if it's just making this site the new tech now and not providing any like profit or like moving the needle on something, it's not a good call. So, and like these are conversations you have to have. Like, and like I've been that dev, like, oh, like let's use the new things, like
You want
every
to, right?
yeah, no, every dev who's kind of green will come in kind of like that, I think. And it's a normal reaction, but as you get a little longer in the tooth, you like does this move the needle for the business? And like those are
Mhm.
things you really have to these are like conversations you'll have as you get more experience, but it's just
Yeah.
things to consider.
No,
And
I've had this conversation with others as well of finding that business value because let's face it, like profits talk more than anything else. I,
yeah,
I would find it hard to believe that a lot of C-suite level people care about developer experience per se, you know.
yeah,
Um, but I think that you're right. Being new green will lead you to that. I think it's also the bubble that we find ourselves in. I love again most of where I'm at in tech Twitter. I've like kind of curated to where I want to be because let's face it, there's the toxic sides of it too.
yeah, 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 for sure.
But Next.js, for example, it seems so big, but it's not on almost. I mean, it's probably on like 2% of the job applications I've sent out.
Yeah, the
React is king. It's still like just React is king. I mean, I had a job interview a couple weeks ago, and they're moving from jQuery to React, and so part of my
mhm,
job would be moving all those components, basically rewriting them in React. There's no Next.js involved. There's no, backend as a service, especially as a bigger business. You don't use those. You typically build them from the ground up, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, so I think I don't know. I would never. I don't want to say never, but I would be hard pressed to be coming into a place and be like, "Hey, we should redo it this way because," I think it's exciting. Like hell, I'm wearing the hat right now. I'm a big pusher of Astro. I think it's great. I think the developer experience is great. I'm not going to
yeah,
tell Shashi, "Hey, we should rewrite this in Astro and then use islands to inject React or, next wherever we want it for that
yeah,
interactivity."
yeah. No, I'm a big fan of Astro too, and like I worked on the frameworks team at Netlify, so like basically
Oh, cool,
supporting all
man.
these frameworks. So like so I got to work with like a lot of the people that work on these frameworks.
Mhm.
And w- there's a couple of things like you're saying React is king. React is king in our Twitter bubble because if
Yes.
you like because like people always like I mean people will do the state of JS survey and stuff, and that's great, but that's still in a bubble because it's the JavaScript ecosystem. Like PHP, WordPress
Mhm.
still rule the web. I don't know what the percentages are now, but it's still like the main chunk,
It's
you know?
wild. It's
Yeah.
wild to see. And Laravel too. Laravel's having a
Yeah,
moment. It
yeah, yeah.
seems like it's breaking into our JavaScript bubble, which is fine. And
Yeah.
I'm interested in learning it all. I want to learn it all, but it's just managing that time and focus and energy, right? Again, what's going to push my
Yeah.
personal needle? Just like you have to think about what's going to push the business needle forward, right? So,
Yeah.
with all my focus right now being in the JavaScript land, it's not going to really be worth my time to go learn Laravel because it's lead dropping everything that I know now to go learn something new. And that's part
Yeah.
of the shiny object thing, right? Shiny object syndrome,
Mhm.
as Mikey said, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Mike had a few great comments here. Saying staying on top of things is vital. The industry changes consciously, especially in open source. Yeah, plus one of that. And yeah, yeah, yes, new tech for the sake of only shiny object syndrome, like you said. Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yes.
We all fall for it at some point, though.
Oh,
It's and you know, it's so true though. But yeah, and Mike's also saying sometimes the business value is DX, sometimes it's not. Yeah. So yeah, and Dominic saying Biggie famously said, yeah, uh, Jay Z too. He's got 99 problems, but I don't know, the JS ecosystem ain't one. I don't know what I'm saying.
Hydration failure, not
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. Not a number, something, something. Um, but yeah, like I mean, that said about like React is not necessarily king. It's king in our
Mhm.
ecosystem, but it's interesting to see like because like you can just use it on the client side still. Like there was the whole single page application stuff, and that's still there are use cases for that. Like I worked in fintech at one point, and like a single page application just made sense. Banks were
Yeah.
okay with it loading. This is this is a while ago, but like I don't know, there was some big bundles at some point, but they didn't care because it was like all WebSocket information coming in, like and
Yep.
any kind of like ticker data and stuff. But
Spas were big for a minute.
yeah,
They
they're
really were in the
still
last
they
decade.
still have their use cases, and like I know Tanner Lindsley's a fan of them still. And sorry, there's John in the chat. Hi, that is so cool, Ryan. I'm a full-time developer on weekdays and a musician on weekends. So, sorry, I'm just catching up on the
Nice.
YouTube chat here. So yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
cool, man.
yeah. Love that. Love that, and I think that's important too. I mean, I was just talking to actually my cousin last night and talking about managing your job with your interests, right? Your hobbies. And
Yeah,
I want to work in something that I enjoy day to day. And that's part of my big drive to get into web development. Music was my career number one. Then since
yeah,
like 2020, 2019, I've been meandering. And then I was said, I don't know, let's give tech a shot. And now it's like my next big focus. So I'll
yeah,
consider this like career change number two, I guess technically. Um,
yeah, yeah,
or three tech, I guess. But yeah, man, like I think not to say that when I get a tech job, I'll stop working on the side because I'll never stop developing on the side, but I certainly will allow myself more time for other interests, right? And
yeah.
because I miss it. It was the biggest part of my life. Man, I started playing when I was 8 going on 9,
Okay,
violin and viola, and when I was 10, I was like, or 11, I said, I want to do something with this for the rest of my life. Like I knew in middle school.
okay,
And then when I was 14, 15, I started getting paid gigs. Like I would go to people's weddings and play and stuff. So,
okay.
and
That's
then
cool.
yeah, dude, it was wild. And then, I mean, I played, so based in New York. I'm about an hour from New York City. I
Okay,
played in the tri-state area, played in some traveling operas around the island and city. Like I
that's
said,
so cool,
weddings in the
man.
tri-state area. So a lot of local musicals. I did some arranging, and arranging is taking a song, let's say like whatever popular song is out right now, and then making it for different ensembles. So
Okay,
I did a ton of that, whether it was for a cappella groups that I was a part of, or others, or string quartets. Like one of my friends has a string quartet in New Jersey, and
okay.
I've arranged the music for them. Like again, it was my life for the longest
Yeah,
time, and so I cannot wait to make more time for it.
yeah.
Mike is
There's a
asking
couple of
where in New
questions here.
York. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I am in Islip, New York, on Long Island,
Okay.
and yeah, Long Island, like Dom says. Yeah, it's the Florida of New York, I think, but I can't wait to
Uh,
leave it. Can't wait to
okay.
leave it.
Um,
Do I play fingerstyle guitar? Like finger picking? Yes, it's not my forte, but yes.
okay. Hey, I didn't realize you're in New York. Well, I didn't. I think I heard Mike mention in virtual coffee the other days in New York. Yeah, I'm just in Montreal, so I not super close. Like I'm closer to Jason Torres because he's like probably like an hour and a half from me. But
Yeah.
because
Well, I'll tell you, I
he's
went to
in
school.
Rochester, I think.
Yeah, he's outside Rochester.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to school up in Potsdam, so that's still the opposite
Okay.
way, but I was mad close to the Canadian border.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
30 minutes away.
Yeah. No, I go to the States occasionally. Like if we go to the States, usually like New England because it's just close, obviously. But like
Yeah.
in the winter, I'll go snowboarding sometimes to like Jay Peak. It's like 2 hours away, and it's a pretty good hill.
Oh, nice, man.
And then yeah, but but yeah, no, like yeah, there's some nice places in New England, and but yeah, it's just like it's close, so that's also why it helps. But and Dominic's saying, or is Florida the Long Island of the U.S.?
Well,
So
that's accurate for sure.
yeah, take care, Mika. Thanks for hanging.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
I know Mika's out at that conference in Wisconsin.
oh, I
Um,
didn't realize she was there as well. Okay,
yes, yeah,
that's
yeah. I think
cool.
she got out there yesterday. A lot of people are out there, which is I probably should have scheduled this another time because that's where a lot of people that I know are at. But I'm glad to see people are still tuning in.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Well, if you are there, you can catch the replay later. But
Yeah, that's for sure. I want to get up to Canada. I've never been. Yeah, it's
it's not
something
all
that I need to
snow.
make time for. It's not all snow. I'll take the snow regardless. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just funny. Sometimes people don't realize it. I mean, like if you come to Montreal, for example, like summers here are humid and it gets as hot as like anywhere else. I think the hottest it's been here is like 42 Celsius, which is like
Oh,
it's
that's like
over
in
a
the 90s, yeah.
it's like over 100 degrees. I think. Let me check that.
No, thank you. Yeah,
Let's
that's
see
the thing
here.
too. When I went to school upstate, it was
Yeah, it's
it was hot.
107.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
No,
But
thank you, man.
that's not all the time. It's usually in like let me just do a quick check here. Yeah. It's usually like in the 30s. So like let's say like a typical summer, maybe like 95 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Um, but it's like it's generally good weather. There's lots of stuff going on. The uh the winters can be brutal sometimes.
I believe
Like
it.
because like snow's great, but like and I'm that guy that takes out the garbage in the winter in his boxers because I'm just too lazy. But it's like I can handle the cold up until about minus 20 Celsius, which I got to do the math here, is like minus 4 Fahrenheit. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say because around 0 degree or around that temperature, they align for a little bit. I think
yeah, I think
Celsius and
it's
Fahrenheit.
yeah, I forget where it lines up, but like after that, it's not enjoyable at all. And that's like the tipping point there. Like it's still not enjoyable right close to the minus four, but it's like I remember when I used to commute to work, and it's like you go outside, it's dark, it's freezing cold, nobody's happy, and then like I remember at
Yep.
one point I used to have to wear like my snowboard jacket because it was so cold, or you know when it's so cold you go outside and your eyelashes freeze together right away or stuff like
Yes,
that,
dude. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's
so
the stuff
it's
I don't miss for sure. I think
yeah.
when I was up at school, it was -10 every day when I went to class.
Oh, later,
So
Upa.
long, Upa. Thanks for hanging.
Yeah.
God, both like this is what happens when you invite another streamer on. It's just so used to do the same thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
um,
exactly.
it was -10 daily. It would warm up to 0 degrees, and if it was above 10, so Fahrenheit, we're speaking, I was,
Yeah.
we were sitting pretty. The coldest I ever felt, actually, we'll have to do the math now. So -10 Fahrenheit to Celsius. That's -23 Celsius for you, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
Um, the coldest I felt in Fahrenheit was -30, and that's -34 Celsius, and that was
Yeah.
something else. But yeah, you're
Yeah, it's
talking
not
every morning
enjoyable.
you go outside and your eyelashes, your nostrils freeze up, like,
Yeah, the cold
just an
air.
experience, man.
Yeah, but everywhere you live, just like anything, there's trade-offs. Like you can go live
Mhm.
on the coast and it's beautiful, but then you have to deal with like hurricanes or like flooding. But it's always a trade-off, I guess. But yeah, all that to say is it's pretty nice here in the summer if you were to come. There's lots of there's like a lot of big events here. I'm not into F1 racing, but
I love it.
that's here. It's like
I
I
c would kill to
whenever
be
it
up
shows
there.
up, I try to leave the city. I can I can literally hear it from my house, and I'm like, it's
Really?
it's basically in the center of the city. So like they have there's a casino in Montreal,
Mhm.
and basically so we have there's subways here like in New York City, and all the dirt that they had to dig out they turned into a man-made island in the middle of the city,
Yes.
and so it's got an amusement park on it. It's called La Ronde. uh, think of it like a Six Flags, I guess, and then they had this track for F1, and then the casinos in the middle, and there's
I
like
didn't know there was a casino there, that's cool.
yeah, it's well relatively new in the sense that it's like from like the 90s, I think. But yeah, basically anytime and that's like right downtown, and I can still hear the tires from cars. I'm probably like I'm in the downtown suburbs, but like I'm basically as west as you can be, and I can. It's probably like I don't know, 10 miles away, and I can still hear the F1. Like that's how loud it is. It's
Yeah.
bananas.
Oh, that's
Or like
God. See, like for me, I'm like, oh my God, I want to be there. I actually was just up at Watkins Glen, New York, for a race at the end of June. So I can
okay,
only
okay,
imagine how low the F1 cars are because those cars were something else too.
yeah. Or but there's been other times where it's like U2 is playing a big concert
Mm.
here, and then I could hear them from my house. So that didn't bother me. I could just sit
Yeah,
on the outside and but
that's sick,
anyways,
dude. I
yeah.
like that though.
But
Yeah, I've been meaning to get up there for years. It's just you know how things go. You always
oh
want to do
yeah,
things,
yeah,
and then
no,
other things come up.
yeah, no, time always. It's like I was just talking with somebody yesterday. I was at a house party on Saturday because it is like is a super Saturday for rugby, and then my friend invited a bunch of us over. But it's like it's so funny how like people who live down the block from me that I know, we haven't made time to hang out, you know.
Yes.
But that's just
Yeah.
life getting in the way, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
man.
so it's just kind of funny.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I have the same thing. I have my aunt and uncle, cousin down the road, literally down the road, like 3 minutes away. Never see
okay,
them. You know,
yeah, no, totally,
it
totally.
it's funny. Oh, where was I gonna go? I can't remember now. But um, oh, actually, the traveling. Uh, that's part of my reason for really wanting a remote job is the ability
Yeah,
to work while I'm traveling. Um, the train system in the US isn't fantastic, but there's still long distance trains you can take, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I would rather do that than fly. But if I could work while doing it, I'm sitting on a train working, like whatever, and I'm still
yeah,
getting to go wherever I want. So that's part of the reason too, is like I don't get to do things is because of my job. That's why I'm not at that conference this week, is because they, even though I had the
yeah.
time off, they denied my time off request because supposedly too many people took off.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember you talking about that. I forget which stream you're on. You were saying like you asked for the PTO and they said no, but
I think it was with
which
James Quick.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but this kind of brings it back full circle. Like the remote work, um, it's hard to land unless people aren't aware of who you are, and that get brings it back to the whole gridiron and like working in
Mm,
public. It's not to say that you can't get a remote job without building in public, but I know for myself, like basically since I started working in open source, like that's what opened the door for me because
wow.
like that's how I got hired at Dev 2. So like Dev 2, I was still working at Autodesk and I blog there all the time. I still blog there now. But I came across it and I just found it super like I started blogging there and I liked the site. And then basically at one point it wasn't open source yet, and
Hmm.
they put a form out like on a in a blog post saying if anybody's interested. So I just filled it out and said yeah I'd be interested in contributing. And then I basically contributed to Dev 2 for like 2 years before I started working there.
Wow.
And then and I was actually the first person outside of the core team to contribute to it. Um, uh, but basically, I was I was interviewing at other places, and then it didn't work out. And then I not like best friends with the founders, but I was like, like I had a channel with them at one point, and then like I just one of them saw something I posted on Twitter one day, uh, and basically I said, "Oh yeah, the didn't end up getting the role," and he's like, "Oh, do you want to come work with us?" Like that was my interview because like, and I basically had no technical interview for it because I had literally been building their front end for them for like 2 years, uh, and this gets into a whole other thing. Like people will say like, "Oh, you're doing it for free," and it's free, I get it, but I enjoyed the platform and I just wanted to make it better. But it also
Yeah.
gets back to the privilege of I had the time to do these things. But at the same time, that's what opened the door for me. And like my interview was basically meet the team and see like if we gel together. Like that was the
That's
interview,
the best kind of interview.
you know?
Really.
And it that didn't happen with Netlify, but like Netlify pretty sure one of the reasons they hired me was like, uh, just the open source work I'd been doing because like when I was on the frameworks team there, that's all open source that we were doing. And
Mhm.
then kind of same thing with the open source where I'm at now. It's like I've been contributing to the project prior. I did some live streams with B Dougie, who's our CEO. Like I did one or two with him when I was at Dev 2, and then I had him on my own stream, and then it just seemed to fit, and like it was just more talking about the opportunity, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen all the time and you just don't have to interview. That's not what I mean. But
Yep.
my main point is um, it's the working in public and the contributing to open source because this is exactly what you would be doing in a remote context, like you know, open source or closed source. You're communicating asynchronously, so a lot of like just you write down a lot of stuff, whether it's in pull requests, issues, or documents. And this is a super important skill to have. And this is something that like the coding, yes, is important too, but you have to be able to communicate like that because I used to work with people in like Thailand and India. And if I just put a message at the end of my workday that said, "This isn't working," uh, it's the site's crashing, and then I just send that message, the next day, like they're gonna be like, "Well, what's crashing?" Or like, "What's the problem?" And then it's this ping pong thing. So you have to be able to articulate yourself as best as you can, and obviously with experience it's different, but like as long as you can do as much due diligence as you're capable of, that's all I would ask. And
Mm.
and that will vary between somebody starting off and somebody who's been doing it for years. But like the more like the less senior person might just say like, the site crashes, I got this error, and then and I'm not sure what to do now. Whereas the more senior person might say that stuff, but also like I check the logs, I check some network stuff, and I don't know, just example. But and then that's gonna help, and it also leaves a trail of like the problem solving as well. So there's like, because I don't know about you, but like even sometimes 3 months go by, and I'm like, what what was I doing in this PR again? And like,
Of course.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, hello Anku in the chat over on YouTube. Thanks for joining.
Thank
Um,
you, Anku. Yeah. I think it's really important. So communication you touched on is something that Shashi has talked a lot about in Gridiron.
yeah,
It is something that we've all gotten much better at, but because it's a new thing to learn for us at least. I've obviously communicated with my team, whether it's cross functionally or whatever at my current job,
yeah,
but we're in person 99% of us. and
yeah.
and so the asynchronous remote work takes it to a new level where we've all improved. I mean, whether it's on GitHub on our issues we're communicating or our PRs.
Yeah.
We also have a Discord that we use. And Shashi actually thankfully made me a mod in that so I can go ahead and organize it and make things better for us in that case. So for example, we have like a forum channel in Discord where
Okay.
let's say you have a question on your ticket. You can open it up, say, "Hey, I need help on this," and we could discuss it there.
Yeah.
Because, and as much as I appreciate and want to keep all the conversation within GitHub, that doesn't really aid itself to real time collaboration.
Oh yeah.
And what I found a lot earlier on was it was taking so long to get answers on things. So for example, I would push a PR on Monday night,
Mm-hmm.
and let's just say Shashi wouldn't look at it until I was offline and going to bed. So then the next day I would have to wait for a response. That change would maybe take me 5 minutes to do, and I push a
Yeah.
PR.
Yeah.
But then I'm sitting there waiting, right? And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? So instead, then made this forum channel where you can create your own threads and blah blah blah. And now we could talk in person, and it's really good because some of the conversations that are getting talked about as well, or being come up, or being brought up, I should say,
Yeah.
it's not only good for us, I think, to discuss in general. Like I love having technical conversations and going more in depth with things, but I think it's really good again that as long as people are around and available, people are responding, and I think that
Yeah.
real time collaboration is crucial for an asynchronous remote team. Is
Yeah.
that to say I want to be hit up on Slack, Discord, WebEx, whatever it is daily, every minute. No, I need time
No.
to alone to do my own work, but those are the boundaries that you have to set, and hopefully your job
Yeah.
respects, right?
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, like, all the async communication is super important in a remote context, but it doesn't mean you have zero meetings or you're never talking to people, like you're saying. It's like, yeah, because sometimes it's just like, yeah, hey, can we just hop on a quick call if it makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And to your point about Slack, like, and it depends. Some companies are good at doing remote work and some aren't. And this kind of you kind of saw this happen during the pandemic because companies that were in person all of a sudden had to go remote, and they didn't really change how they operated. The only difference was
Yes.
everything was over Zoom. But like, I had a friend who was like, man, I'm in 7 hours of meetings today, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like that's bonkers. um
Mhm.
but but to your point about the Slack, um yeah, you reach out to people. Try to do stuff as much in channels as opposed to DMs. And
Yes.
it's not because the main reason is you never know, somebody else might be able to chime in about something. And then as soon as you go straight to DMs, it's just lost. It's only between those two people. um Other things that are good to do are like, and a lot of these services offer this now, but like, record your Zooms.
Mhm.
Because like, even if you aren't working remotely, it's imagine somebody can't make a meeting. It's a nice courtesy to record the meeting. There's, AI takes notes sometimes now, but like somebody might take notes still. And this is a way for them to still be part of the conversation instead of like, yeah, we had a meeting and you weren't there. Like, it's,
Right.
so there's a lot of things you can do to just make it work better. And I think some of these things too work as well for in-person stuff. Not that I plan on working in an office anytime soon, but yeah, it's just finding that balance. And the thing I was gonna say about the Slack is never expect people to get back to you immediately. Like
Yes.
like one place I worked at, like, it was partially remote, and the manager's like, "Are you there? Are you there?" Like, kind of like micromanaging, and it was annoying because I was doing good work. It was just like, basically, it was stressing me out because it's like, you know what, you know, I'm in the bathroom. That's why I didn't answer. Or
God
like,
forbid.
I was making a coffee. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like, obviously get back to people, but just like on both sides, don't expect an immediate response. Because I think it's just healthy. Like, somebody could be in the zone, and you're talking
Yeah.
about boundaries.
Ma
Boundaries are super important. I
I think
definitely
so
did
too.
not have, yeah, I did not have a lot of boundaries when I was earlier on. Like, and so one thing I do nowadays is I block my calendar. So like, I say like, this is focus time. Like, when I work out, it's like, you can't book a meeting with me when I'm working out because like, that's my time.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's not being a dick. It's just it's like, these are the boundaries you're setting, and I definitely leave pockets for like if people need to book meetings and stuff.
Mm.
But it's important to just, yeah, create boundaries. It's super important because like, if not, you're just gonna get taken advantage of, even if the intent that isn't the intention. People are gonna be like, oh, Nick's free, or I'm gonna book this now, or like, so it's, and it takes time to get good at that, and I think we all still need to work on it. But yeah, yeah,
I agree. I think it's a skill, like setting boundaries in general is a skill that needs to be learned, and it's not something that you're going to learn unless you start doing it. And it takes time, especially if you're someone like me who didn't have them. I think the setting, not expecting a response right away is really important for a lot of people to understand.
yeah,
Since we got cell phones, right? Like since we got text messages and we have, you can call us at the drop of a dime. I now am taking that, and because I've got so used to responding no matter what right away, I don't owe anyone that that response. You know what I mean? Like I will get
Yeah.
back to people. I don't tend to leave them unanswered. But if my time is my time, I literally use like do not disturb, whether it's on Slack, Discord, Mac OS, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's crucial. My job, it's funny you were talking about that micromanaging. That's how my current job is, and uh, it's awful because we're
Mm.
work from home 1 day a week right now.
Okay.
And so actually, for example, WebEx is our client of choice, and
Okay. Yeah.
it's having an issue today. And so like I'm literally like emailing my boss and texted him and called him. I was like, "Hey, don't want you to think I'm not working, but this
Yeah.
is what's going on," kind of thing. And that's such a bad environment to be in my opinion. Like I shouldn't feel like, "Oh god, they think I'm not going to be working," because I do good work. I put in the hours, I put in the time, and
Yeah.
the results show for that. But because of the micromanaging nature of this job, it leads me to feel like, "Oh god, I have to now show proof that I'm working," you know?
Yeah. And it's annoying. It's like it's basically means whether they mean to or not is they don't trust you. That's what it comes
Mm,
across as. And
100%.
that's not a good environment to be in. And yeah, it's just yeah. It, but yeah, totally. Like the thing is, like obviously people can abuse working from home. Like I'm sure people have. I have no doubt they have.
Mhm.
But it will usually become visible pretty quickly if somebody's not doing work. I think. I can definitely speak for like engineering. Like we're a small team at Open Sauce.
Mhm.
Like if I was just at home watching like cat videos on YouTube all day, it'd be pretty obvious that I'm not shipping stuff because like we ship stuff a lot, you know? So like but the you know, like the contract, like I don't have to log hours and stuff. The contract is really like, okay, I'm an adult, you're an adult, you seem to be competent, I trust your abilities, just deliver the stuff, and then,
Love
you
that.
know,
I love
I,
that.
I'm paraphrasing. Nobody said that at the company, but that's kind of what I've basically. I think that's what makes the healthy environment. Like, and the other thing too is your productivity is gonna ebb and flow, right? Like, there's some days where it's just like maybe could be because you're under the weather or just something's just not clicking. And then there's other days like I'm like on fire and I'm just like nonstop. And then, so like I think just give yourself a bit of grace. Like nobody is ever 100% productive or every day. Like it's not realistic. If you are, you might be a robot. Like anyways.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I think, it's funny you say that about giving yourself some grace because um Friday and Saturday, I mean, I had a really rough work week, and then Friday and Saturday I'm trying to get gridiron work done. And I'm just like, nope, it's not happening. I'm just like struggling, and I did what I could. But for example, Friday, I was like, what's the problem? This error doesn't make any sense. And for them, for some reason, my .env file was missing. No
Okay.
idea
Yeah.
why. I hadn't removed it. It's a local file. It's not tracked by GitHub.
Yeah.
That was one thing. And then the other, I forget what the error was. But so, like, my brain just wasn't firing. And whatever
Yeah.
that it is what it is. You still put in the work, you put in some time, but you also have to be mindful of that. And that's the mature sort of like job that I want realistically is the trust. And obviously, like, trust could be lost, just like anything else,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It
you
takes
know?
a while to build up and it can be lost instantly for sure.
Exactly
Um.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too is like when things aren't clicking, it's like like go go for a walk. Like like you know I'll work out or something. Then I'm having a shower and then I'm thinking about stuff. Like even though you're not literally typing on a keyboard, uh, I think about work when I go out for a walk at night. Like it's like like, oh, what was that thing I was working, like, or even if I'm not thinking about it, it's just the change of scenery and stuff. Your brain is still processing stuff in the background, and I know I'm saying the obvious stuff like take a break, go for a walk, but people don't do it still, so like
Yep.
it's good to say it explicitly. And I'm generally good at it, but I still have days where like I'm like, I know I should go for a walk right now, but I'm gonna stick through this.
You and I both.
Even though I know better, but like in general though, I think I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean, that's something that it's again, it's just a skill that you kinda have to learn and try and stick to, but it's tough. It's tough when you're sitting there like, "Oh, I just wanna brute force this," and I'm
yeah,
sitting there
exactly.
trying to work through it. But yeah, I'll get up and go take a walk outside or whatever it is, and 9 times out of 10, you come back feeling much better, I think.
Yeah, yeah, no, for
Probably
sure, for
higher,
sure.
probably 9.9 times out of 10, you know?
Oh yeah, I almost always feel better or like yeah, some days it really just isn't clicking and it's better to like call it a day, sleep on it, and then boom, it's like you're on fire again, you know? It's like
And it feels so good
um
when you're on fire.
yeah. Yeah, Alex likes coding and saying definitely when I force myself to rest, I become more productive. It's
Yeah.
just yeah, I think it gets back to I think your brain just needs to process, needs to sleep for whatever reason, and like but I think overall, like if you're competent at what you do, like it's gonna level out, you know, and like so like that day where you're like, oh, this isn't working, and then the next day, like I said, you're on fire, you know, it's
Yeah,
but yeah.
actually, it's funny. So Alex likes coding is part of the Gridiron team. He's actually who I will
Oh,
be
okay,
interviewing
okay,
tonight,
uh,
and
okay,
so Alex has a lot of time on his hands right now to do to code. Last night he messaged me, and I was already in bed, but about having an issue, and like
okay,
he's like, I've been pounding away at it, blah 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 blah, and then a little while later he
yeah,
goes, Oh yeah, I figured it out. You know, whether he took a break or not, it just is one of
yeah,
those things that you run into, and I think it's just important. I think
yeah,
we're not robots, and if your bosses pretend that you are, then you should probably look for a new job.
yeah. Oh, Alex says he took a break,
Yep, there you go. And it was a simple
and
solution.
Bjorn over on YouTube saying, I need GitHub more productive, actions expected, duration at 60 plus hours. I didn't quite fully get that, Bjorn. I know Bjorn, but I'm not sure. I couldn't really decode what you said there. But
I didn't quite to get that one either. I was trying.
yeah, cool, cool. Well, like I know we're getting close to time here. I'm gonna drop links where folks can give you a follow.
Thanks.
Um,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I guess as we're wrapping up, anything like we might not have touched. I know I always like streams like this where we just go on tangents because it's just fun, you know. It's
It's
like
easy.
and it's you know it's not dry really, you know. It's like not just like we said we were talking about this, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
but yeah, no, I've loved the conversation today, and like a lot of people mentioned it in the chat before that they've been enjoying the conversation. So, but you were saying you're hanging with Alex tonight. I don't know if you wanna. I think you tweeted that out. I can find the link and I can put that in the chat.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so I started this Meet the Team series literally just last week with Gridiron Survivor.
Okay.
And it I
Oh yeah,
thought
here it
A,
is.
it's free content, and B, it's good for myself, but it's also good for other people to, it's a pseudo interview. It's kind of like this, but instead I have some questions that I'm definitely asking them because
Yeah,
uh for example, last week I had Chris Nowicki on and I asked, what is Gridiron Survivor? And I'm not making fun of him, but he stumbled and fell all over it.
yeah,
And this is the project that we can talk to the most in our interviews. So, and I'm going to be asking Alex tonight, and Alex already knows this. So if he stumbles and falls, we know why. But uh in my interview again, this project is what I was talking about the most. This is the most actionable, most
yeah,
representative thing that I have to show future employers or possible employers what I can do and the experience that I've learned and
yeah,
everything like that. So, having it in a pseudo interview style, I think really works. We'll see how it goes. We've got about
yeah, yeah.
8 to 10 team members, and I'm trying to do one, maybe two a week. It's something fun to do, and instead of me live
Oh
coding all the
yeah,
time, which is fine. And that's the whole reason I started streaming was I said, well, I'm already coding. I might as well build in public too with it, right?
yeah, yeah. No, live streaming. I mean, I like live streaming on my own as well. Like I'll typically do some work because it's open source, but I'll dig into other things. But uh, it's when I have guests on, it's like my favorite part of the week because it's like it's just a chat like my lizard brain would like to have like tens of thousands of followers on Twitch or YouTube. I don't. But that doesn't really bother me. Like the reason why I do this is I just get to meet people that I typically wouldn't get a chance to speak to, and it's also just yeah, just I mean, I guess it's a form of networking. I still hate that term networking. I just call it making friends, but it's just yeah, it's just a way to meet people, hear about what they're working on, cool stuff, and it's I don't know, it's been a fun ride. I guess the only thing I wish I could have done is and I'm not mad about this, but like when I worked at Dev 2, like I like because even at open source, I'm full-time engineering. But when I was at Dev 2, I had suggested like, well, why don't we do live streaming for Oktoberfest? Because me and my coworker Christina at the time were the face of Oktoberfest for Dev 2. Like, I mean, the
Yeah.
whole team was behind it, but and so I'd suggested like the live streaming, and then so we did that for all of Hacktoberfest every week a few times, and then after that was done, I said, well, can we keep streaming? And they said yes, but like the caveat was like I had to do it on the Dev 2 account,
Okay, not your own,
you
yeah.
know, and I don't regret it. It's like because I was basically getting paid to stream as well as do my usual work. But that's part of why like there's basically almost 3 years of me not growing my own account because of that. So
Yep.
that's my only thing. Like if you are streaming, definitely do it on your own account for work if you can. It's just at the time that's just the way it worked out. But I'm still grateful to have had that opportunity, and like I met so many cool people on the Dev 2 stream as well. But that's the only thing I'd say. And I think most people do that nowadays. Like Jason Langsdorff, my old coworker from Netlify, like he did that from the get go. There's no Netlify. There's a Netlify YouTube,
Yes.
because I remember being on one with a couple of my old coworkers. But like generally, like even when Jason was at Netlify, like if there was new Netlify stuff coming out, it would be on Learn with Jason, not the Netlify. I don't even think there's a Netlify Twitch account actually. Um,
Yeah,
you know
isn't
what I
that
mean?
it's interesting. But I guess that's, part of DevRel too, I feel like in general. If that's like where you're what position you're in is yeah, part of it DevRel's success I feel like comes from the audience that they're bringing. So you kind of in my mind you kind of want them to be able to use that as a platform.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's been said before by a few people, but like people follow people, not companies. Like,
Yes. Yeah, that's huge.
so but yeah. But anyways, all that to say, like, yeah, it's one of the fun parts of my week. And it's awesome hanging with you, man. It's like I love the
You too, it's been a
convo, and
blast.
if you want to hang again sometime, we can definitely do that if you're up for it.
Definitely up for it. That's for sure. I love these kinds of conversations and, wherever it goes, right? We
Yeah,
focus
yeah,
on one thing for a little bit, but when you have these kinds of connections, it's always good, I think.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's great. I appreciate the opportunity and everything. It's fun.
Oh
That's all I
yeah,
could
no,
say.
cool, man. Glad to have you on. I'm just gonna go ahead and drop links where you can find Ryan again if you want to go give him a follow. I just suggest you do. Why did I just stutter there? I'm not sure. Um, and I'm just gonna drop the stream schedule if folks want to check that out. Wednesday, it'll be out on socials later today, but I'm gonna be hanging out with Jay Larkey, who's big into frameworks and stuff, and I think he recently gave a talk about using React Server components in Go, and so we're going to be talking about that and like doing some live coding. I'm not sure what yet, but it'll be fun. And yeah, just check all the other guests out there. I'm gonna be on vacation a bit in August, so not streaming as much, but got to take that time off. And yeah, thanks again, Ryan. Thanks everybody in the chat. Great convos, and we'll see you in the next one. And Ryan, if you don't mind just staying on for 1 sec, and then yeah,
For
later,
sure.
everybody.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Bye.